All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting edition of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. We are live on Facebook and YouTube as well as Riverside. There's no getting past the Epstein files, folks. They're coming out, and there's no way they can't. The news came out about Ghislaine Maxwell's special treatment. I think that was yesterday, dominating the headlines. And she's getting meals delivered from the warden at the prison facility. She's getting special treatment. She's getting visitors and guests with computers. She's having unmonitored communications. And she's the most prolific sex trafficker in American history from the female perspective. And she helped the male version of the same thing conduct that same brutality on the women that cost Prince Andrew his royal estate and his royal title. But now the Trumpster has got to figure out a way to maneuver past the Epstein files. What will he do? How will he wag the dog? Let's go to the beautiful confines of the Upper Hudson River Valley and join Brock Ganeles with a look at where we wag the dog. Brock, we got aircraft carriers in the Caribbean. He's still blowing up ships down there with fishermen on them. Where does he wag the dog next?
Mark, I don't know if any international story can bump the Epstein story out of the headlines. It's too salacious. It's finally coming, we all knew Trump's in there.
Yeah.
But the fact that now there's, more and more realization on the MAGA side that he is,
Sure.
I don't think we as a country care enough about shit in other places enough to turn our attention away from what's going on right here.
Sure.
In this moment. So yeah, there's ships we're blowing up fishermen in the Caribbean, right? But
it is absolutely ridiculous that we would turn away and that we would, let this slide, if you will. This guy is looting our treasury. He's robbing us blind, in broad daylight. And it's frustrating to watch him get away with everything. I don't see how he gets away with this. Do we need a young lady to come forward and say that he raped her or graped her?
The fact that Trump is intimidating or attempting to intimidate Nancy Mace, Boebert, and MTG to change their vote should be indication enough that this is really damaging to him. The fact that it's apparently Boebert was in the Situation Room today getting spoken to by like Kash Patel and Bondi and Trump to try to get her to change her vote, right? I mean, it's just, you don't do that shit when you don't have a problem, right? So apparently, we're going to see how it plays out. Is Mace going to change her vote? Because they swore in the woman from Arizona, I think because Johnson feels like he's got the Tennessee congressman coming to tip the scales.
Right.
But Trump's in panic mode, so he's trying to intimidate these other women in particular to change their votes and just basically not let this Epstein file see the light of day. But like you said, it seems to be coming out anywhere.
Yeah.
Where are all these emails coming from? Where did these 20,000 emails come from? And, why today? Why just today? Where have they been?
Right. I think the estate is leaking a lot of this stuff. I think the estate of Jeffrey Epstein wants it to come out. Just imagine the stain on that family's legacy. I mean, they are probably shunned, the world over. I'm not sure what their profile is.
So you think
But,
the brother...
if I'm Jeffrey Epstein, I'm getting this. If I'm the family, I'm getting this stuff. And we're not going to be the only ones to take the hit on this.
Interesting take. I didn't realize, maybe the brother's behind it. But no matter where it's coming from, like, today's emails were damaging, and there were so many, we've probably only seen it, a handful have made it, a fraction of the stories. But Trump's in them. Epstein knew Trump. Epstein has very candid comments about Trump in there, basically at a time where these are private conversations, right? He's not trying to lie. He's not making shit up. He's just talking shit with some friends,
Right.
right? And he
Right.
knows what Trump's all about. And, he's given, in essence, his 2 cents worth.
Yes.
And it's obvious Trump's in there. We know there. We know it from his behavior. We know it from all the women that he sexually assaulted. We know it from the flight logs. We know it from the photos. I mean, it's like, come on. We know
Yeah.
it. Like, so do we need to, how much more do we need to see? Most of us, not anything more. The hardcore MAGA, they probably still need to see a little bit more. But there's no doubt it's in there.
Yeah. 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 Is this enough to take down a presidency? In years past, someone would have had to resign. Trump would have had to resign. He would have had to step down. Crazy ass JD Vance would have had to take his spot. But these kinds of allegations, would have. I mean, remember how repulsed Bush 41 was when Stone Phillips came into the Oval and asked him if he had had an affair and cheated on Babs. I mean, he was livid.
It's
Livid.
in any other iteration of America, leaders, Thune, McConnell, a few of them, and some Democratic leaders would already have been in the Oval and told Trump he has to resign because otherwise they're going to have to go through the difficult task of
Right.
impeachment, right? I mean,
Right.
any other iteration of this country, but that's not where we are.
Right. And we can't get 60 votes, to impeach and remove.
Not yet.
No. No. But the only time to get it is 26 because 28. I mean, I was listening to an interview with Jasmine Crockett today, by the way, on Sirius XM channel 126, Urban View, the Clay Kane show. And she is convinced that he is going to try to enact martial law right around the 28 election and just stay in office. She doesn't think he's going to try to run again. She just thinks he's going to stay in office and, keep the position because we're not going to have elections during wartime.
Does she think that he's going to allow 26 elections?
She wasn't quite sure.
So that's a coin toss, whether
Yeah.
he's going to allow MAGA to lose the House, which,
Right.
they're definitely in line to lose.
Because that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a tsunami, right? Because people are ticked off, bro.
Yeah. But think about how much more Epstein files we're going to see before that next election. I mean,
Exactly.
it's starting to flood out. And John, they're walking a tightrope to keep a lid on this, right? They got to win Tennessee. They got to try to get Mace to change her vote. They're trying to shut Boebert up, right? They don't have a lot of wiggle room. And as more damaging evidence comes out, it gets harder and harder for these other politicians to keep, in essence, pushing back on it. Because
Right.
if there is an election, then this is going to be something used against them everywhere, all day, every day, because we know from the polling that somewhere between 70 and 80% of MAGA wants to see these Epstein files because they sold them on this shit for like 10 years that there was a pedophile ring in a pizza shop, of oligarchs running the world.
Bro.
Little, I mean, maybe they did know, but little did they know that it was all going to come back and it was actually their guy
Yeah.
that was a part of the ring, and it wasn't under a pizza shop. It was at a resort golf club.
Yep. I mean, it is insane how folks have hung on to this. And, the pedophile conspiracy like it's just like it has to be unhealthy.
No, it's on the. But Mark, we like to talk about things from a white and a black guy point of view because we're such a segregated country. This is
Right.
basically entirely a white guy thing, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I have not heard of or seen a Oh yeah, because even Epstein was like a eugenics guy. He thought he was a master race guy, right? So yeah, this is entirely a white guy
It's a white
cabal,
idea.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
black folk, we're not obsessed over it because we got so many other things to worry about. right? Like, we don't have time to worry about that stuff, what people are doing in the basement of a pizza parlor. We're not engaging because every day is a struggle, from a Black perspective. And, I hosted a mental health forum last night. We had about 150 African American men at the health forum. And the variety of issues that Black men face, right, was such a stark contrast to what your experience has been in America. And everybody had something to say. That forum could have gone on for hours and hours and hours, because as the panelists broke down post-traumatic slave disorder, that's one I had not heard before. It was basically, they said, these psychologists all agreed that post-traumatic slave disorder was handed down generation to generation. You didn't necessarily have to experience the trauma to have it passed down. And it made a lot of sense to me, because we always seem to be engaged in these existential battles, and then we don't seek mental health resources. And that was a big part of the conversation last night, getting to the point where we realize we're not okay and we need some help to sort shit out.
But who's giving that help? White America ain't giving you that help, right? Is that the message, really?
That was a lot of the message. To find someone who you can open up to. Right? Because the great analogy that they used last night was like the soda bottle. You put the top on the soda bottle, and, well, it's an unopened soda bottle. You take it off the shelf, and then you shake it. Right? You shake the soda bottle. What happens when you open the top? It explodes. So, this is the Black man holding all this stuff inside, work issues, relationship issues, financial issues, unemployment issues, all the things that we have, people follow us around in Macy's, all the issues that we deal with. And you bottle them up, but yet you don't go get somebody to try to help you stay balanced and to stay in a place where you can thrive so the next generation can thrive. We are really worried about African American men now, young men, Generation Y, because their idea of relationships, a lot of them is coming from these supercomputers that they have in their pockets, their telephones, right? So they have access to all this content and they don't have any context for it, right? So they're forming relationships based on what they see on social media and on YouTube and all these different channels that they have to go to view content, because they're not seeing a model at home. Right? The biggest issue in the Black community right now is the lack of fathers in the home, which has been an issue for a long time. I mean, there were even, policies put in place where you couldn't get a welfare check if there was a man in the house. Right? So what did people do? Hey, you got to get out of here. All right? Because I got to get this check so I can feed these kids. Right? So you want to destroy a community, right?
Yeah, and people thought that was scamming the system.
Right. Yeah. And all they were doing is destroying the Black family. So, when we look at, these politicians and what they're allowed to get away with, we're already maddened by society and the way we've been treated, right? Long periods of unemployment. A lot of my white colleagues have never been unemployed, my white contemporaries, right? They don't know what it's like to sit on the beach for 4 months. I mean, 4 months is not bad, but when I was going through it, I was like, yo, this is not cool. This is not cool at all. Another period of unemployment I went through, 7 months. Brock, add it up. That's a year. That's a year's worth of salary that did not go into my retirement. And, that's why those are 2 houses that I had to sell, right? Lost all the equity. Yeah, because I wasn't allowed to stay in one place. So those are the opportunities that we lose. And we don't.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because the shit we get on the chat board when we get
we don't have time to search
discussing about these benefits.
Yeah, Go ahead.
on these benefits, there's always this like, oh, people need to be employed. Oh, get a job, And I'm like, well, some people have a job that doesn't pay enough
Boom.
to get you above the poverty line. So what are you going to do about that? Oh, you got to get a better job, this, that, the other. Okay, so that's one argument. So either you got to argue for a higher minimum wage so that everyone can have a living wage,
Right.
or you can't, you just, it's only someone who's had the luxury of not being unemployed. Like, being unemployed can just shit happen, right? You're at a company, it merges and they get rid of your division. Boom, you're in a remote office, consultant comes in, tells them they gotta, make some cuts, and your remote office is poof, gone overnight, right? Like, all kinds of shit like that just can happen, not to mention just not getting along and, with your boss and the like, or just being at a company that's struggling.
Right.
Last in, first out, right? And sometimes it's just like timing, like, you're wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy to find a job or even close to a comparable job. That's why I see people screaming on the chat boards a bit. It's like, oh, everyone just get a job, stop living off the system, this, that, and the other thing. Like, oh, wow, you've never been in that situation. You've never had transition. Well,
Right.
good for you. Most
Right.
of us have had these transitions and have had to scramble to find something. You'd want it to be close to equivalent, but often you have to take a step back
Right.
when you lose your job, right?
Right.
Not to mention worrying about the healthcare and all the shit that goes on in between, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I hear your point. It's definitely almost like a high class problem to be able to focus on the Epstein files and not have to worry about your day to day, or to live in conspiracy theory world instead of reality, that you actually have the luxury of like, chasing it down these rabbit holes versus surviving.
Right. Right. And it's me and my friends, we kind of look around and we're like, yo, who has time for that? Like who thought that through, that they would get a weapon and shoot somebody at the pizza place? Like, this has been bothering you for a while, huh? Long enough for you to figure out that you've got to, attack someone and attempt to murder someone. We just don't have time for that. And because we're trying to figure out ways that we can coexist in white America and still achieve the American dream, because the American dream is it's getting farther away for everyone, right? The only people it's not getting further away for are the people with the resources, right? And that's white America.
And that group is shrinking. Even that group is shrinking.
That group is shrinking, right?
Because the average age of a first-time homeowner, right, it jumped like 8 years in the last 3 years, right? It like went from like age 36 or maybe 12 years to like 48. It was a huge jump, of first-time home buyers, right? Like, so now people are over 40. Sometimes I think the average is like 45-ish.
Well,
I mean,
Rob, think about it. Think about it. If you're getting out of college right now, think about the loan debt that people are dealing with, right? So they've got to go back home, right? How many kids are graduating college, going back home and looking for work because it's too expensive, to find a gig where, you can afford rent
You live
in the
on your
same
own.
city.
Yeah. And most jobs are in cities, as much as like rural MAGA world, wants to hate the cities.
Right.
Let's face it, more of the GDP and the commerce is being run there. There's more jobs there. And so that's where people have to go. But then it's more expensive, a hell of a lot more expensive to live there.
Yep. So think about the drag on the economy. People are not buying houses. If you're not buying houses, then you're not going to Home Depot and you're not doing home improvement projects. If you're not doing home improvement projects, you're not buying televisions. If you're moving back home, you may not be buying a car, right? Or you're using the beater that you had in college.
You're certainly not buying furniture and stuff like that, or
furniture.
sheets or pillows or any of that stuff that you'd have to get to go into a new place. You're probably trying to offload whatever shitty stuff you had in your college, like your college apartment with like the 8 people jammed in there. So yeah, this gets us back to the affordability and the fact that not only is Trump trying to put out an Epstein fire and run around on that, but he's obviously also tripped all over himself trying to convince Americans that affordability, he doesn't want to hear about affordability because somehow that's like, interrupting his golf game, right? The fact that people are starving and can't afford to live here. He doesn't want to hear about it. Just, it was horrendous on Laura Ingraham. He can't even get through Fox interviews anymore. But now supposedly they want to take him on the road and have him go on an economic tour where he gives speeches on affordability. And I'm
Why
like,
would you
good
do
luck.
that?
Good luck, right?
Right. I would hide him as much as I possibly could. I would only bring him out and tell him, you read exactly what's in front of you and then turn and walk away. Because you're killing us. You are killing us. I mean, he makes it worse. Because tell me you haven't ever applied for a mortgage without telling me. No, you can go from a 40-year to a 50-year.
50-year mortgage, yeah.
50-year mortgage. Really, dude? Really? I can't get it at 22.
No, yeah. At age 45, you're going to get a 50-year mortgage. You're never going to own that fucking thing. You're a renter. You're a long-term renter. That bank owns that property. You're just paying monthly on it.
All day.
Trump tried to tell us that we never heard of magnets. Like, we didn't have the little filings on the magnet or a magnet on a refrigerator growing up when we were like 7 years old. No one ever heard of or knows anything about magnets somehow. Was one of his topics du jour. Then he told us that Americans don't have talent, and that's why we need these HB1 visas. So he's trying to play a pro-immigration storyline because Americans are too dumb, so we need immigrants, while he's got ICE running around, rounding people up because we hate immigrants.
Right.
And I'm just trying to figure out how he squares that circle and doesn't come across sounding like a buffoon. And the answer is he didn't and doesn't. And he does come across sounding like a buffoon. And even MAGA is starting to question, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Right. And, he never knows what he's fucking talking about, Brock. He's the master of nothing. He has no expertise in anything. He's never been a student of anything. He damn sure doesn't know how to build a casino. I mean, fucking guy went bankrupt on the casino before it even opened. Like, he couldn't even get the shit built. The Taj Mahal, the great, casino down in Frantic City, never got it open. Never got it open. And, we were supposed to believe that this guy was some sort of amazing businessman and he was going to turn things around for America. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm still amazed that we fell for the banana in the tailpipe. And, and now you've got politics. They're all this. Brock, look, we said it the other day. Fighters only wanted on the Democratic ticket. We want people ready to punch people square in the nose. Yes, that means you ladies too. We are in a fight for our survival, for our very existence. This guy has fractured relationships worldwide. The UK doesn't want to share intelligence with us anymore. They said, nah, screw you. The head of the MI5 shows up over here. Kash Patel meets him with a sweatshirt and sneakers. Hey, what's going on, chap? Dude, have a little professionalism about you. These people are unprofessional. They are boorish. They are, goons, if you will. And they have no idea how to, run a nation. They know how to run it into the ground because that's what they're doing. And our economy is taking the hit. And I don't know how we recover from it, Brock. I wonder what my grandbabies are going to be able to do, in 20, 30 years. My sons ain't buying no houses no time soon, right? They're in their 30s. I mean, I drive around my neighborhood, my little city up in, northwest of Atlanta. Houses from the 500s. What? Brock, take a look at the used car prices. $40, $50, $60,000 for 3 and 4 year old cars. Where are people working?
With good, sound policies, American economy can be revitalized. That can be done. It'll take some time because the more damage we allow Trump to do, the longer it will take to get fixed. Even, I mean, this is worse than COVID at this point. But even with COVID, when the entire country shut down, it took a while, but boom, we rebuilt. You could argue there were some good policies, some lousy policies. It was a mixture. But American ingenuity, when American democracy is in place and our capitalism and education systems are functioning, we can rebuild that piece of the puzzle. I think that'll happen faster than the revitalization of American society and our ability to actually have a society that functions together. I think that's going to take longer because that's even getting broken more than the economy is, because I mean, we're in Civil War mode, right? So if you think about it, after the Civil War in the it's the economy came back before society ever came back. In fact, did society ever really recover? Or did we just, kind of segregate in different ways? We've never really been a unified country. We've kind of sold that shit to ourselves.
Not at all.
Like, we never really have been. So, I don't know. I don't know if that encourages you or depresses you. I hadn't thought about it too much. But the problem is, the more damage we allow Trump to do now, the more unwinding, the deeper the hole, in fact, basically it's just the deeper the hole we dig, the harder it's going to be to climb out of. He's only been playing this game for 10 months.
Yeah.
These have only been 10 months.
Yeah. Feels like a fucking lifetime, bro.
And we're in a disaster. I lost your sound there for a second.
Yeah, I know. I was saying, it feels like a lifetime. This 10 months. I mean, really, dude?
10 months.
We got 3 more years of this shit? Like, how are we supposed to make it? I don't get it. All right.
We gotta win every battle. Like, we gotta go win that Tennessee congressional race. We gotta win. It's only winning that'll scare other MAGA-ites to be like, oh shit, we can't win anything.
Anywhere.
We're getting wiped out. We're going to be extinct here in a second. So we got to adjust. Like, they have to be forced to adjust. Look, we won the election, 10 days ago, and then we folded on the fucking, so we didn't really force MAGA to adjust in the shutdown, right? We basically let them off the hook, right? We had them in the corner and we stopped punching.
Right.
So we can never do that again. So we got to go win Tennessee.
Absolutely. And it's doable. 20 points is nothing compared to what the suffering that people are doing. So, all right, Brody, give me a quick hit before we get out of here.
Okay, I got 2.
Go.
One. You know who Sydney Sweeney is?
The girl with the jeans?
Yeah, the girl with the jeans. She was in Euphoria. Then she had a couple big movies, and she was becoming a really hot star. But she got in that jean commercial, which kind of played into, superior jeans and a lot of white supremacy shit. And she it's kind of come out that she's MAGA, right? And she had a movie that launched on Monday and had like the worst performance of any movie in history in the amount of screens that it was showing at. Yeah. So it was a real career tanker. So I always get a little happy when that happens because I want MAGA to lose, and I want them to get that social shunning where society kind of says, I'm not going to that fucking, fuck that. I'm not putting my money to that fucking movie. Right? Because she played along with that jeans commercial, right? She didn't refute it when the controversy happened. She didn't walk away from it. She didn't say, oh, so embarrassing. I would never want to be a part of something like that. And that wasn't my intention at all. She didn't do it mea culpa.
No. She never tried to get away from it.
No, never tried to get away from it.
Well,
that's one. Number 2, which maybe we spend a little more time on. Jerry Nadler stepping away, one of those old timers who's not going to run right next year, thankfully, finally. So one of the people that's thrown in the hat in the ring for that seat, which is like basically Upper Manhattan, is Cameron Kasky from David Hogg's friend from Parkland, is in the mix. He's won, and he's in his 20s, right? He's young. Today, that guy Jack Schlossberg, JFK's grandson, Kennedy, threw his hat in the ring for that seat as well.
Nice.
So My take. Okay. What do you think of that? Let me start with you.
I, look, I'm a big fan of the Kennedy family. I have loved them from my mother was part of a tour group that Robert Kennedy had come to, RFK had come to, and she had the picture. And she was walking right next to him as she was giving him this tour. And so I've been a fan of the Kennedys ever since. And I like everything that they do. I've had interviewed Kathleen Kennedy Townsend when she was lieutenant governor in Maryland, just a delightful woman. And so the Kennedys can do no wrong in my eyes.
Except for the current.
Yeah, yeah. Except for that one. Anyway, but I do like Cameron Kasky. I do like that Parkland crew. I think it'll be a good race. Let's see who's got the best message. And
Okay,
let's
so
see who's willing to fight.
that's a surprising take for me because my initial take was, you know what? I'll hear anyone out, but
Right.
I'm tired of this fucking legacy, fucking bullshit, playing off the name of someone else. Like I want new fucking blood.
New blood.
But I
Yeah.
caught myself after having that first reaction, said, you know what? I'm gonna hear them all out also.
Right.
But it's interesting that you're so pro Kennedy because I'm pretty anti, and I'm kind of really sick of them. And it's like, this Joker was sort of the last straw for me on the
Yeah.
Kennedy side of thing. But anyway, what do you got for me?
Okay, so My Cousin Vinny, one of my favorite movies. I know it's a white guy favorite.
Okay.
And there's a scene in the movie where Joe Pesci is in the jail cell and Daniel Rothenstein is at Steen. She called me Stein. So he's asking, Vinny how many times it took him to pass the bar. And he said, well, three's the charm. And then nope, not for me. Six time was the charm. So he Vinny had to take the bar like six times to pass. Well, it looks like Kim Kardashian is going to be approaching that number soon. She's already failed it 4 times. So
Really?
6 years into her law journey, she's still not an attorney. So I don't know if you remember back in 2020, she enrolled in law school and she got all involved in the social justice movement. And she was going to become an attorney and she was going to help people get out of jail. She helped this one family down in Memphis. They got a pardon or whatever from Trump. Van Jones, Kim Kardashian. Well, until you pass the bar, honey, you can't do anything in the courtroom.
Okay, so I knew she had a TV show about a legal thing that's kind of gotten panned. I haven't watched. She has some show on Netflix or something. So, as much as I think she's kind of useless and became famous for doing nothing, although her father was obviously a famous lawyer, right? O.J. Simpson
Right.
case. So she had it in the, maybe it was in the DNA. Speaking of DNA,
Right.
with Sydney Sweeney. I mean, geez, when you said that, I kind of found myself sort of feeling bad and rooting for her. Like, wow, she's sticking to it. She's taken it 4 times. Like, she didn't take it once and quit. Like, she went back and studied again and studied again. Has she committed to take it a 5th time? Like, is she like, I mean, I kind of feel like, okay, she wants to get this law degree so that she can maybe do some good things for people who are improperly prisoned and the like. Cause like, I actually find myself with a little bit of sympathy and actually rooting for Kim K.
Yeah. I
Now,
just can't.
you think it's a vanity thing?
Yeah. Stick to doing what you do. You take selfies, you sell makeup, you sell clothes. I'm cool with that. But
Starting
don't try
tomorrow,
to
we got to talk only sports on the podcast then?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like being told to stay in the lane.
Yeah, but my thing is you can't do everything. You can't be all over the place. And the way the law works, if you're not serious about it,
Okay.
I don't want you hanging around on the fringes because
You think she's dabbling in it. Got it. She's
I
like,
think
it's
she's
a dabble.
dabbling. I think she took advantage of that situation down in Memphis where she got that lady out after she had been in prison for 20 years or whatever. 21 years, I could have gotten her out, with no law experience. I mean, geez, what were you in there for? Like some weed, or being adjacent to a crime? Again, sentencing disparities are a mess. So, I think she, kind of took advantage of her fame and leveraged it to, get this woman out. The woman was thanking President Trump. President Trump didn't give a damn about you, Alice Johnson. He didn't give a damn about you. He wanted some positive press. So he'd be good with the blacks. I'm good with the blacks now. You see what I did for the blacks. I mean, it was a phony play. And if you're not going to get in and get in the fight like Ben Crump and some of these other attorneys who are dead serious about what they do, like, think about it. Letitia James has Abby Lowell representing her, right? Patrick Fitzgerald representing James Comey. Do you think that lawyer from the Justice Department is not going to get eaten up? You don't show up in a courtroom if you ain't ready for the heat. You hear Neil Katyal giving his defense in the Supreme Court? That guy is about the business.
I heard a couple
One
of
of my
clips.
favorites.
Okay. All right. So you think she's dabbling the set. One day we'll talk about Maya Moore a little bit. I'm curious. I'm a
Let's
huge
do that.
fan. I mean, that's.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Jesus, she's the shit. I don't even know if she got a law degree, but I know like she's putting her time in
Yeah.
on that front. Okay. Well, who would have expected that you're the Kennedy guy, and I was on Kim K's bandwagon there for a hot minute.
I've been a big Kim K fan. You
No,
know?
I've never been.
Yeah, for years. Look, Kim K gives, speeches in Silicon Valley to teach people how to market. She's a marketing genius.
Yeah. I mean, it started in a kind of absurd way, but
Yeah.
I was a Chloe fan. I love that show, Chloe and Lamar.
Chloe's awesome. Yeah.
Lamar kind of went off. He's a sad story. I was rooting
Yeah.
for him. That's for a different time as well, but I was more a Chloe guy.
Yeah, one day we'll run down the Kardashian curse. Talk about the men who have fallen off the radar after marrying a Kardashian.
Marrying a Kardashian. Yeah, what was that basketball player? For guys, Chris Humphries. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez, when he lost their diamond earrings in Bora Bora, that was stressful. That would have worn me out. All right, bro, we're out of here, man. We're way over time. The Kardashians, you gotta love them. You gotta love them.
Boy, I root for Rob as well.
No doubt.
All right, Mark.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow, bro. Stay
I'll
loud and
talk to you
proud.
tomorrow. Take care.
Yes, sir. Peace.